Sean, it's pretty good. You go get the crayon. It's only 14 years.
Good morning, everybody, or in this case, good afternoon. Sorry, I was speaking to Asia. I apologize for being late. First and foremost, I want to thank Chairman Crow for asking his committee to join us. Members of the committee, just to give you kind of, I guess, run of show, we're going to go ahead and hit 12:30, so then we can let the Public Safety Committee adjourn from our committee. Right after that, we are going to revisit Chairwoman Camp's bill that we sent to Rules. Rules sent it back to us to perfect it. I will be anticipating that Representative Evans will be providing an amendment that the author has already agreed to, but it's the one that Rules believes will perfect the bill a bit more. So we're going to revisit Chairwoman Camp's bill because of that. And then the third bill we're going to hit is Representative Kendrick's House Bill 478. So that'll be the run of show. We'll do 12:30 first. Again, Chairman Crow, thank you so much. We appreciate this. For those of you who have not been with our committee, when we did Chairman Thomas's deep fake bill, we asked Judiciary to join us. Typically, no one wants Judiciary or wants to be in Judiciary, but having those minds, I think Chairman Thomas would agree, it helped to perfect the bill, and we appreciate that. Chairman Crow, we know that members of your committee will help us to perfect 12:30. I can mention to the committee that PAC will be testifying to 12:30, and hopefully you will be able to hear their thoughts in terms of some amendments. And then in addition, there should be an email from the Department of Corrections that was directed to Representative Cox and me earlier this week, which is basically titled Subject HB 1230 Prohibitions on Unmanned Aircraft. And that was again directed to Representative Cox and to and to me. So take a look at that. There was a question last week regarding the unmanned vehicles being captured or being detained as contraband. It turns out the DOC has in fact been doing that. GSA has also given us information that they have also seized several of these drones. So it turns out we had more seizures of the drones than we actually anticipated or we knew about last week. So I want to thank the Sheriff's Association and also thank the DOC for doing that. And again, when you have a moment, take a look at that email. And again, I appreciate Representative Cox asking the question, and I appreciate the department being kind enough to give us an answer. In terms of 12:30, I know the committee heard it last week. For members of Chairman Crow's committee, what I want to be able to do here is basically lay out for you what we were trying to do here was effectively stop or try to give as many, I'll say, opportunities for us to stop the operation of drones for the purposes of delivering contraband into incarcerating facilities. You'll see that the definition of those facilities are basically in lines 15 through 17. But for the purposes of our discussion, we'll just generally use prison and jails. The meat of the bill, if you were to move, is in line 64 through line 74. And that speaks to effectively not being able to land and launch from not just, I'll say, the area adjacent to the incarceration facility, but also all of the land that is owned. So especially in our state prisons in the South, good to hear the Chat GPT is summarizing what I'm saying. But in terms of the land that is adjacent to our prisons, they cannot launch or land there either. I know that PAC has an opinion in terms of what we should do in terms of 75 through 77, but I don't want to take their thunder. I'll allow them to testify to that effect. That being stated, are there any questions on 12:30 before we hear from a couple witnesses? This is a first. I didn't know you guys were capable of not hitting your buttons. Okay. With that stated, I want to ask PAC to come up, please. If you can, introduce yourself. Also, hold on just one second. If you can, everyone, inside of your folders, you're going to see a several page document titled 42-5-18. I won't read the rest of it, but you'll see it in bold. This was provided by PAC today. My apologies to Legislative Counsel. I thought I was going to cause some type of coronary to her, but PAC was kind enough to get this to us, and we wanted to give them an opportunity to testify to the bill and then the improvements or the suggested improvements that they would like to make. So at this point, if you can, please introduce yourself, say who you're representing, and walk us through your recommended changes, please.
Pleasure to be here. I appreciate the opportunity to address this committee. For those of you who don't know who I am, I'm Peter John Skandalakis. I'm the Executive Director for the Prosecuting Attorneys Council. Prior to that, I was a DA, elected DA for 25 years in the Coweta Circuit. And prior to that, I was an assistant DA. So I've got almost 41 years in as a state prosecutor. And just to let you know, Monday was my 70th birthday. So I'm still here, still kicking around. With me is John Reagan. John is one of the Prosecuting Attorneys Council's resource prosecutors. He specializes in gang prosecution. He's also been very active lately in the past year and a half, 2 years, trying to deal with the drone issues that we have in the state prison system. So he's very familiar with this. So I'll turn it over to John at this point.
Thank you, Pete. Like I said, my name is John Reagan. For the last almost 7 years, I've been with the Prosecuting Attorneys Council as the state gang resource prosecutor, focusing on complex gang and racketeering cases. Before that, I was a assistant district attorney in the Macon Judicial Circuit for 18 years. So I have this year will be my 25th year as a prosecutor in the state of Georgia. That's all I've ever done. As Pete was telling you, for the last several years, working closely with the Georgia Department of Corrections, the FBI, and several other agencies and local local DAs, we've launched Operation Skyhawk, which has launched at present. We filed 3 racketeering indictments across the state against organizations, mainly gangs, that are flying drones into prison through contraband. That is the new way to get contraband into prison. It used to be trying to smuggle it in through things, throwing it over the fence. Now they use drones. And it is to be quite honest, it is a nightmare. They are a daily event in Georgia, and we are fighting it. What we've proposed, and I thank the chairman for allowing us to make these amendments, we are in complete favor of banning drones flying over prisons and launching them from fields. That's how it's done. They don't launch them from public places. They launch them from private residences near prisons and fly them over the prison and make a drop. And it's just a couple of minutes for them to do that. We would respectfully ask that, like I said, we appreciate the chairman's bill, but amend 42-5-18, where we have drone laws already in place in the state of Georgia, and they are very good laws. Make these amendments that we recommend to strengthen these drone laws, to do what the chairman wants us to do, and that is to eradicate drones in Georgia. I'll be glad to answer any questions you have.
So,
If you could, oh, I'm sorry.
so Mr. Chairman, first of all, let me apologize for getting this to you so late.
Yeah,
And
I apologize.
I apologize for that, and I appreciate your willingness to listen to us. But if you'll go through the changes that
Yeah,
you,
yeah.
That was going to be my request for the purpose, because my hunch is you're going to get a bunch of questions
Sure.
on the underlining. And what I'd like to alert the committee, and I guess both committees too, please, for the purposes of this discussion, it's a little unorthodox. Please use the document they've provided to us that is titled 42-5-18, and please refer to the line numbers if you don't mind, sir. So then that way that would allow both committees to be able to follow your logic. But again, please don't refer to the bill right now. Please refer to the handout. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I'll just start at our first amendment, which is line 67 on page 3, which is what the chairman was saying, that it shall be unlawful for any person to knowingly or intentionally operate or to allow another to operate an unmanned aircraft system above a place of incarceration from his or her property. That is a major problem that we face right now, that people are going to residences, rental houses, property, farms near our prisons, and they're being paid to launch a drone from that location. The drone then takes off, flies to a couple waypoints, goes over a prison, is over a prison for just a few seconds, makes a drop, and comes back to that location or to another location where the drone is then picked up and they're gone. That is a huge problem that we are facing. It is not just that they're launching from a public space, they're launching from private spaces. So that is our first recommendation. Line 75, that this section shall not apply to law enforcement who is in compliance with federal regulations and who is a peace operating such system for law enforcement, public safety. We use counter drones. We use drones to look at drones. And then we also, that would allow us systems that would be in place that we can put in to have counter drone systems that can go up and actually intercept these drones. We don't have them yet, but we have talked to some companies that actually produce counter drone systems so that they launch multiple drones and have, for all intents and purposes, a captured drone to come stop the new drone from coming in, and then actually uses it's almost a 3-drone system where you have one drone kind of running surveillance overall, one drone going after the offending drone, and one drone trying to go back and find where it launched from. So that's that. Line 84C, as we talked about, the seizure of drones, unmanned drones operated in violation or declared contraband and may be seized. I can tell you in Operation Skyhawk, we've seized well over 200 to 300 drones. It is a huge problem, and we seize them. And we have them right now. We're actually under a forfeiture order. We have a pending forfeiture case as a part of Operation Skyhawk, but we would be asking that to be a part of the law that we'd forfeit them. Line 87 through 90 would allow us to take the reasonable and necessary mitigation measures. Right now, we can't do anything, so we would like to be able to mitigate, and that is to stop the drones once they're overhead. They're detected, and we would be able to mitigate them from making their drops. And then it goes further down lines 91 through 96 to ways to jam a drone, because drones can be jammed through electromagnetic pulse. They can be, as I said, we have interceptor drones, both kinetic and non-kinetic ways to take down a drone. Then line 97 through 100, it says that a law enforcement officer or agency shall act pursuant to this only if there is a reasonable suspicion that the unmanned aircraft is involved in criminal activity, poses an imminent threat to public safety, or is otherwise operating. I'm not going to say, we have, our prisons sometimes are in rural areas, and sometimes people just fly a drone, and we're not trying to, knock down some 8-year-old's, toy drone. We have, I know for a fact at a prison, we know of a child that flies near. He's not a threat, so we're not going to go after his drone. We're not going after the hobbyist, drone that's up there that may accidentally fly over. That's not the goal of this. The goal is to go after, the most common drone we see is the DJI Inspire 2, which can carry 5 pounds of contraband. And if you think about 5 pounds of contraband, that's a lot of contraband. I can tell you for a fact, the number we use is, think of a can of tobacco that you see at any convenience store. Bugler is the most common brand. It's a 6-ounce can of tobacco. It goes for anywhere from $30 to $50 in the store. That goes for $2,500 in a prison. Cigarettes go for $100 a cigarette. And it's not just so much phones, it's now SIM cards. So they don't have to bring in the new phone. They just have to get in a SIM card or a charger. And you think about how little those things weigh. 5 pounds total is a lot of contraband. And drones are getting bigger, and they're getting bigger. The drones now we're seeing are carrying 20, 30-pound loads. In Operation Skyhawk, we intercepted a drone that can carry 232 pounds. So the amount of contraband here is massive. So I appreciate the chairman allowing us to make these recommendations. Like I said, we have very strong drone laws under 42.518. We'd just like to nestle them in with the rest of our drone laws, and these would be felonies. This would also make them pursuant to be able to be used under our gang statute. Title 42 is a subsection that we can use the gang statute on.
Thank you, sir. Pardon me. Thank you, sir. Appreciate the detail. Chairman Prince, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for your amendment here. A lot of good stuff here. But you mentioned about not trying to disturb, say, a child or something flying, how do you know the difference? I mean, I would think that regardless of who's flying it or what type, if it's flying in this area in and over a place of incarceration,
Mhm.
we want it down anyway, regardless, because
Absolutely, we do want it down. It would be an accidental incursion, for the lack of a better term. Like, we can see drones that can't carry the drone that you could buy at, it would obviously be, we would be alerted to any drone.
thank you.
And
That's
and
what I-
that's what I
that's what I
want to stop every drone.
Thank you.
Okay, but obviously there's discretion, and we're not going to go shoot down a little teeny $20 drone that can't be carrying a contraband. Now, we would be looking at it, we want to stop it. We absolutely want to stop it. So yes, we want to stop every drone.
Thank you. Just want to make sure we do.
Mr. Chairman, Representative Neal.
Thank you to the chair. So I think my first question, you referenced 87 through 90. You said mitigate. What is your definition of mitigate? What does that look like?
Mitigate means we can interfere with its ability to fly.
And what does that mean?
Means we can use like electromagnetic pulse to take the drone out of the air to stop it.
Is that the only mitigation?
There are multiple ways of taking out. Like I said, there's anti-drone systems where we actually launch a counter drone.
Do you like run into it? Like, what are the options? Like, what does that mean?
There's several options. I mean, I'm not just talking about using electromagnetic or conventional tool. I'm talking about this drone actually flies up. Actually, I think it deploys a net and grabs the drone and brings it back to the earth.
Okay. Follow up. So, and this, just out of curiosity, has this been crafted in a way to avoid any constitutional challenges related to airspace we can regulate in comparison to like the FAA and what they can regulate as far as airspace?
So all prisons are no-fly zones by rule. We're in control of them, and so I believe this is in compliance with all of that.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Representative Neal, are you done?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Representative Kendrick.
Thank you.
Hello.
I had a question about line 97 that says a law enforcement officer or agency shall. Is there a reason you put shall instead of may?
Well, I think it goes back to the chairman. We want to stop every drone.
Okay.
We want to stop every drone. There should be no drones over Georgia prisons or any prison, jail, sheriff's office, local. We want to stop them all.
Mhm.
So it's a shall, and we are in a shall right now. If we detect a drone, we go after it. I think what I was talking about, and excuse my, is that we have a discretion. Obviously, I'm not going to prosecute the 12-year-old, but we want to stop every drone. There's no business for anybody to have a drone over any law enforcement facility, to, I believe the chairman's point, to have a drone over a facility, period, end of line.
So can I ask clarifying questions?
Yes.
So, so the reason I asked that is, if there is a law enforcement agency that maybe they have reasonable suspicion, but for whatever reason they decide not to intercept this drone, it's your statement that you want them to be obligated to shut it down, not to have the discretion with changing it.
I want the drone to be stopped no matter what. And if they have it's also being able to have the tool. I mean, there'll be different tools for every different agency, but to be able to deploy those, because this is a huge threat in law enforcement. This contraband delivery doesn't just happen at Georgia Department of Corrections. It happens at local jails. It happens at county municipalities. It happens at city jails. So we want it stopped, period.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Representative. Chairman Crow.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you all for being here. On line 67, where paragraph B is inserted there, I'm trying to find, and I apologize, I just got a chance to look at this, and the spacing of this is a little different where your offsets are in there. So I'm trying to figure out which sub paragraph goes with which part and where we're following along. But can you tell me what the penalty for that would be? Because I see down below, on line 80, it says a person convicted of violation of paragraph 1 of this subsection shall be in prison for not less than 1 no more than 10 years. But 1, it seems like it's referring back up to C1 maybe. Because that's 3A if I'm looking at the spacing right. And so I'm just trying to figure out what the penalty is. And if it's not a felony, it should be.
Right.
But I just wanted to make sure what the penalty was.
I think, Mr. Chairman, you are correct. I think that's a typographical. It should be a 1 to 10 felony
Okay.
because that's all our drone violations are felonies. And because it's a serious matter. So, but it would be a 1 to 10.
Representative Cummings.
Thank you, Chair. I think I have two questions. The first one on line 68 and 69, where they talk about you can't fly an unmanned aircraft above a place of incarceration from his or her property. So that's to me seems very limiting. So if I take my equipment to the library or coffee shop, I'm okay because I'm not on my property.
Well, we're trying to stop all drones, Madam Representative, and what the biggest problem we're having right now is people literally leasing, paying for people very near correctional facilities. They're not launching from the library. They're not launching from the coffee shop. They're launching from a residence that's a mile or two from a prison. I can give you an example in Telfair County where I just got done prosecuting part of Operation Skyhawk 2. They're using houses that are rural, that are near these prisons, and they're going in the dead of night, going to these locations for the sole purpose of launching the drone to get it over the prison, because the drone has to be within a mile.
But I think to answer your question, if you launch a drone from a public property and we can prove it's with criminal intent, we can still prosecute.
Okay, because in my mind,
No,
technology is ever evolving. And
absolutely.
so it may be 2 or 3 miles today, and maybe 20 miles next year. And
Yes,
so
sir.
why limit yourself? That's why I was getting
No.
No, ma'am.
trying to help.
Yeah, No, it would be anywhere that they're launched, but the biggest problem we're having is people using private land and launching from, so we want to put that penalty in there as well.
But if you just put a period and take out from his or her property, you don't think you would be covered? I mean, it should be a crime no matter where you're sitting.
That may be a question for Mr. Smith in the back
Right.
there.
I may defer to the general counsel.
68 and 69 on
Mr. Smith, do you want to comment on this?
this version.
I mean, why we have you guys? Yeah, I'll open that up. Representative Cummings, you present a good question.
And I think to answer the Representative Cummings' question, the intent of his or her land was to reach people who intentionally or letting others use their land. It was also to make sure to protect someone you're asleep at night and some no good people come onto your property and launch a drone to the prisons. Obviously, that's not an intentional act, and that landowner shouldn't be held responsible. So I think that was the his or her property was trying to chain back to the intentionally allowing someone to use it. And I think this is some, just like the reference to the penalty that the chairman picked up on. I think there's a couple, and I apologize, there's a couple of tweaks that legislative council is going to need to clean up on this, but I think that that's a very good point you make. I just want to make sure that we can prosecute the people who are letting others come onto their land, but also we're protecting the people who don't know the land's being misused that way.
Right. And I thank Mr. Smith that the example, just a house, but it could be a several 100-acre farm. You may not know that somebody's out on your land doing it. So it would be that intentional act and still protect the landowner.
Thank you.
Chairman LaHood.
Thank you, Chairman. I'm in support. I like the concept here. Just curious, is there a certain altitude above the jail or the prison that you're most concerned about, or is there an altitude that would be too high to be a threat?
With technology, Mr. Chairman, every day it changes. They used to be, low flying drones. Now these drones, some of these bigger drones that we're seeing, they have altitudes of, they can go up to, 1,000 feet. They're not flown by even a remote control anymore. They're now flown via computer, via Wi-Fi on board, and they can be flown remotely. They don't have to be line of sight. They can be flown from miles and miles away over the internet. So these drones are more powerful. They're they're flying so high that we can't sometimes hear them. They're taping over the lights so you can't see them. And then, that's also an area of concern with regard to aircraft. So,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Secretary Earhart.
Yeah, quick question, just really a logistical question. For the drones that are dropping contraband into the prisons, how are they typically caught? Is it the prison guards or folks working at the prison that observe the drone coming in? They then what? They report it to the police. The police are the ones that go investigate. How difficult is it to catch the people that are flying? Because I assume they can fly very fast. And then you said they often fly at night.
Mm-hmm.
So they're in and out probably very quickly.
Yes, ma'am.
How easy is it to catch them?
It's a concerted effort. It takes all parts. We have people that are, looking for the drone, hearing it. We do have detection systems. I know Georgia Department of Corrections is actually looking at we had radio frequency detection systems, but now these drones aren't flown via radio waves like a remote control. So we're looking at radar, conventional radar, just like you would have at an air traffic control or anything that would detect anything in the air. And then you're using ground teams. I know Operation Skyhawk, we ran a Title III or a wiretap.
You ran a what?
A wiretap.
Okay.
So we were actually listening in. So when we knew a drop would be coming, we would deploy the teams, and we're deploying all over the state. So it's a combined effort.
Yeah. Thanks.
I think y'all can see already, this is a lucrative business.
Yes.
And unfortunately, inmates have time on their hands. And quite frankly, they're very clever. They're very smart. Department of Corrections is understaffed. Sometimes you only have, 4 or 5 guards there that are working. So it takes a concerted effort to try and intercept the drones.
And being up on what Mr. Skandalakis said, I could tell you a pilot who's flying these drones, who's making these drops, can average $10,000 a flight. And he can make 3, 4, 5, 6 flights a night. And that's just what he's being paid. So imagine the money going up the chain.
Understood. This is not my area of expertise, but I'm imagining how incredible some sort of invisible fencing, the kind you put around your yard and zaps your dog if they try to go out, something that would disable maybe the electronic system of the drone. If they pass, that would.
We are, the United States Congress passed a law late last year to allow some technology to come in through the FCC, but that's in its infancy. So we're still going to have this problem. And again, like I talked about, these drones still are going to be able to be flown remotely over Wi-Fi, and so a jamming per se is not going to work. We need to be able to hard intercept them.
Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Cox.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank y'all for kind of this update. My concern is as technology evolves, and by the time we get this done, AI is going to be the one controlling the drones, and it won't actually be people that we're going to prosecute and throw them in prison for a felony because it's a AI. So I don't know how we're going to get around that. We had mentioned geofencing in the last meeting, something similar to what you're saying. To me, the strategy that I see, would it not be more effective to play defense and make sure that we're picking these off, whether it's through EMP, you said netting, I believe, geofencing. The other one is, because I'm more concerned, how do we stop it from getting in? I don't know that we'll get to a place of prosecuting. I don't know if we'll catch them. If we do, great. But even the concept of like Iron Beam, which is a detection system that's used to pick off drones that's coming in. And I mean, these drones they're very small too, right? Is there like a mini Iron Beam technology that's out there or something like that? Like, where are we heading to keep this stuff from getting into the prisons?
And that's a very good question. Technology is always advancing, as you yourself have mentioned. And this is the first step to allowing us to, as we put in there, under 87 through 90, to take reasonable and necessary mitigation methods to continue to improve our technologies to do that. The problem I can tell you with regard to geofencing, that was what we thought we were protected because our prisons, GDC and our prisons were already geofenced to not allow drones to fly into them. However, every drone can be programmed to delete the geofencing. And that was a huge problem we found with the drone suppliers. In fact, they sell that as an advantage to them. I'll be glad to take off your no-fly zone. And so it doesn't just affect a prison, it affects an airport. So a drone that's sold that has no-fly zone software installed that can't fly over Hartsfield for a couple $100, a guy can reprogram the drone and it could fly right through Hartsfield's airspace or Dobbins airspace or Robbins airspace or any military facility. And that's the problem we have. And the drone companies, in fact, have just pretty much disabled that now because they've gone to a new system to identify drones, kind of almost like a plane squawks its IFF, its identification. Drones now are supposed to do that. But of course, our bad guys and girls are not, our bad actors are not registering their drones. But to your question, yes, technology is always changing. Iron beam, mini iron beam, and we want that ability, and that's why we put in 87 through 90.
Okay, follow up. So I think as we're moving down this path, this is making sure we're not outdating before we get started. And I think we've had that conversation before. In the drones that had been taken down, and thank y'all for this email that we received. How many people have you actually caught from those drones?
Arrested in Skyhawk, close to 200.
Okay, and they've been prosecuted at this
They're
point.
being prosecuted right now. I've got 3 indictments going. Not everybody was in those indictments. They maybe be handled in separate indictments, not the racketeering indictments. I have 2 more that I'll be filing this year.
Thank you.
And that's
Wow. Thumbs up.
Hey! It's somebody, the computer said thumbs up, so I'm.
Hey, I knew TII had to Yelp a 5-0. Yeah. Yeah. All right.
We come back here more.
This is fair.
And I do want to make clear, those are just cases that are being handled by myself. There are several other prosecutors, and I can't thank my fellow prosecutors across the state and the district attorney's offices across the state who are doing this as well, that are going after the drones. It is not just this case. It is, I could go to any district attorney's office and they are inundated with drone cases.
If I may, last night I contacted Lewis Lamb, one of the district attorneys who has state prisons, I think 2 or 3 state prisons in his system, in his circuit. I asked him to count the number of drone cases that it's inundated his office. He emailed me back this morning. He goes, I've got too many to count right now. I can't do it.
And we're trying to incorporate as many into Skyhawk, but it by no means am I saying I'm the only person out there. There are several hundred prosecutors across the state fighting this battle.
Thank you for the clarification. Representative Evans?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I apologize, I was late coming over, so this may have been answered, but I'm trying to understand House Bill 1230. Are we trying to put the handout into it, or are we trying to do it instead of?
Oh, that's a great question.
Okay.
So I appreciated Pat coming to me today. We came a little on the late side, not to give our witnesses a hard time. So we did not have time to get with Leg Counsel to put this in as a potential sub. So you are correct. The 1230 is in Title 6. This is in Title 42. So we're effectively talking nearly about potentially a quasi new bill. I think what I want to do is I'd like to finish up the 4 more questions that are here, Representative Evans, and hold this and not take action on it today, because I think we need to sit down with PAC, Legislative Council, and make sure we just get this thing right. Right now, we've gotten some great questions from Public Safety, which I've appreciated, great questions from TII, and according to Representative Tran's email, we've got thumbs up. So I think we should basically, I think we should take it in due course. So why don't you, if you have a question, by all means, please do. But our apologies for the confusion. We're asking everyone to follow 42-5-18 as opposed to 1230. Does that help, Representative Evans?
It does. And the
Okay.
only thing I would say, just for a comment as you're moving forward with Ledge Council, is that if it does end up that 42-5-18 somehow combines with 1230, I think the line 75 in 1230 needs a knowingly violates in there. But if 42-5-18 may already have an intent, but if we travel with 1230, I think we just need that somewhere. But that was it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Representative, you said line 75, so after who, before violates? Correct?
Yeah, a person who knowingly violates.
Knowing violates, okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you very much, Representative Evans. Chairman Thomas?
It's funny, the knowingly is something that caught my eye. I guess my inner Stacey Evans came out there. So actually, I just kind of tell you a story that I think's interesting. So me and the kids, one of them sitting back there, but right now, we actually went to a park and we had an unmanned device that was just a toy. And for whatever reason, that toy went crazy and picked up and just flew off. And we had no control over the toy. It had a little radar device underneath it. It malfunctioned. And that's why I'm like, I worry about the word or. I know that sounds crazy, but knowingly, I guess you could say I flew it over knowingly at the point that flew over. I now know that I'm flying a drone over it. And maybe that's parsing words a little bit, but I definitely didn't intentionally. So I don't meet both criteria, but we maybe argue that we might have met one, assuming that it had flown over a prison, which it didn't, but.
I think that's also where prosecutorial discretion comes in, because obviously a misfault like that in technology, that wouldn't be a prosecutor. I'm going after the ones that are knowingly, intentionally flying over a drone.
And I feel that, and I understand the prosecutorial discretion. I just, I always worry that sometimes if we get an overzealous prosecutor that, might be, if there was just some way, maybe we can clean that up just a little bit to make sure that somebody that really didn't somehow their device malfunctioned or something. And again, I don't want to create a loophole either. So I'm just asking, maybe think about it.
Yes, sir.
Thanks.
Representative Barnes?
Thank you. My colleagues pretty much read my mind. I was trying to see how many cases have accidentally flown over a restricted area, and you had to you could drop the case because they explained that it was an accident. And I also support my colleagues by adding knowingly.
As far as I know, the ones that I've prosecuted are absolutely knowingly flying over. I haven't dealt with one per se where it's an accidental flyover. It's the ones we're going after, the ones that are absolutely flying contraband or flying they work in tandem. You fly one drone in to try and alert the system, and you fly it over here, and it may not have anything on it, but the drone carrying the package is coming in here. That's the ones.
It's pretty intricate.
Oh, it's very, as Director Scandelakis said, these organizations are quite intricate and quite elaborate.
Well, thank you. As to not criminalize those who aren't purposefully doing it, I would support adding knowingly in there. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Barnes. Chairman Thomas needs a follow-up question real quick.
I mean, aren't we really going, I'm sorry, this is going to sound a little counterintuitive of what you just said, but I mean, aren't we really going after someone who's intentionally trying to break something? I don't know, maybe, I know it sounds weird. I don't know if knowingly, I guess, why does it why does knowingly but not intentionally? I mean, aren't you always intentionally doing it? If you're intentionally doing it with the idea of committing a crime, then you're intentionally doing it. Like, I guess the knowingly is where I kind of get hung up. So, I mean, it's okay. We can have a little back and forth, and I'm always open for some education on the issue. But do you follow where I'm going with that at all? I mean, they're doing it intentionally to drop something.
I can, but this is a Robert Smith question.
Right. Come on, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Smith, if you could take the podium again, please. And I really would like to wrap this up in 5 minutes. I want to be respectful to Chairman Crow's committee, who've already been in process since 1:30 today. So
I was eating lunch and typing this in 15 minutes. That should have been knowingly and intentionally.
And there you go. It was the order was the thing that bothered me.
And for the lawyers and non-lawyers in the room, that's something we actually do in the criminal code. Is we usually say knowingly and intentionally.
See, that was what was hanging me up on this whole thing. I'm never going to Judy, but I did learn a couple things from the punishments I've had going through it. So
And apologies once again, I was typing as fast as I could to get this to you in time.
Yeah, thank you. That actually, that
The-
takes
the-
care of all
The
my.
chairman has been very gracious to us.
Yes.
We got this to him literally. I talked to him literally less than 2 hours ago, and he said, "Get me something as quick as you can."
Yeah.
And that's our fault,
Yeah.
not his fault.
Well, we appreciate you all doing it. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank
Mr.
you.
Chairman, that answers my
And
question.
Chairman Thomas, thank you for having a keen eye that a Georgia Bulldog could not have. Whip Park.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Likewise, I appreciate the clarification in terms of what we are working off of. I think just, upon review of 1230, there seems to be another component of the bill with respect to ticketed events, which may have been from last year. I think one point of clarification that would be helpful would be, I know 1230 makes both components, the ticket event component along with the contraband component, a misdemeanor, whereas what you're having here is a felony between 5 to 10 years. So perhaps for legislative council to parse out the two components in which, if we're talking a civil issue, that could be certainly treated as a misdemeanor with respect to a ticketed event. With respect to contraband, y'all would want to see a 5 to 10 year felony moving forward. Is that correct?
1 to 10 or 5, depending on, yes, but because the rest of our drone laws, when it comes to bringing contraband and flying towards prisons, are felonies. That's why we wanted to put it under 42.518. With regard to the ticketed events, that's why we kind of broke it out into a separate section and meant to. The ticketed events are a completely different thing, and that's not what the aim of. I want the contraband to be consistent with being a felony.
Yeah.
I
Thank
hope
you.
that addresses your question.
Thank you for the clarification. I look forward to, I think there's bipartisan support, for y'all's concerns specifically, not the ticketed event component. Look forward to reading legislation that clearly effectuates that intent.
So do I.
Thank you.
Representative Neal.
Thank you to the chair. So just following up, the first question I have, lines 51 through 55 on the PAC document. I'm not quite sure how that fits. If you can enlighten me on what that is in reference to.
I believe that's
Representative, I'm so sorry. I apologize.
sorry. That's already in 42.518.
Gotcha. Okay, follow up. So actually, funny enough, I was working on this same initiative a couple of years ago with some sheriff's entities. One was able to make it, one of the majors from one of our sheriff's departments. I think another sheriff or two are trying to come. But pardon me because I told them too late. But working through some of the concerns we had a couple of years ago when we were trying to examine this is one aspect is exceptions. So I know we're trying to go after criminal activity. And we've also, when I was working with legislative council in the past, when we were working through constitutional challenges, one thing that did come up was not having certain exceptions. Like for instance, journalists, researchers, utility companies. I'm assuming that we're capturing those people because if we just say criminal activity,
Correct.
but even when it comes to like photography and press and that kind of thing. So we do have some precedents from the courts, such as National Press Photography Association versus McGraw from 2023 that held that banning, this type of coverage was an issue, essentially. But what I'm trying to work through is supporting the bill. Do we guard against these types of constitutional challenges?
I think yes, we are guarded because again, we're going after a criminal intention act. I mean, obviously, if somebody is, GDC is authorizing photos of their prison being taken, we're not going to go after them. If a utility company is doing surveys and they're over the area, we're not going to be prosecuting that. That's a non-criminal intent act.
Okay. And for the purposes of the chair, if y'all are open, we do have people that were trying to work on this a few years ago. If we're going to hold, they would love to be a part of your process of contemplating what this looks like.
We'd love to hear from them as soon as possible, if that's
Okay.
possible. Representative Neal.
Yes.
But thank you so much.
Thank you.
To Representative Neal's question, if I could alert you to line 76 of, I'm just calling it 42.518.
Yeah.
Industry, which would include some of the folks that Representative Neal just listed out, has asked that the and become an or. And I would ask, and I don't know if that's a Mr. Smith question or is that to you, but is there objection to making the and an or?
On line 76?
Line 76 of 42,518.
I don't think we would have a problem with that, the federal compliance. I mean, again, that, I think we were talking about things like surveying companies, utility companies. Yeah, I don't think we have an issue there.
So down, as you mentioned, we have several prisons down towards our ag world, and we do have more and more legitimate drones doing ag tech work. And we clearly, there's no intent, obviously,
Right.
to your point, but also they are FAA certified, but they're not peace officers.
Right.
So they want to make sure that they're just kind of moving along and doing their job and making sure it's watered or insect or whatever it may be. But we want to make sure that's happening. So, okay, great. At this point, I believe we have exhausted all of the questions, and we can relieve you from the hot seat. So I sure do appreciate it. So
Well, and
thank you so
again, I
much.
thank you. I apologize for getting this to you so late, but I appreciate the committees. I appreciate all the questions, and I thank you for your willingness to address this and move forward.
No, thank you so much. We appreciate your time, and thank you for making this a better bill. So thank you. At this time, I want to thank Public Safety. Thank you so much for the questions and the insights. You're absolutely more than welcome to stay for the next two bills. But at this point, feel free to depart when you feel it's necessary. To TII, we're going to work with General Counsel and PAC to get back to you a sub. Don't be surprised if we have a meeting before Wednesday to basically take up what is 12:30. And Whip Park, we'll make sure that bifurcation is clear. In terms of what we're doing there from the misdemeanor standpoint and the felony standpoint. I don't know if that means we're going to have to be in two separate titles, which could mean two separate bills. But again, I'll let Legislative Counsel and PAC have that conversation. Okay. Okay. Thank you, Whip Park. I appreciate it. What I'd like to do now, were we able to get, oh, thank you. This is copies being handed out right now of Chairwoman Parks, Chairwoman Camps, pardon me, bill. Oh, you had the correct one? Okay. Hey, everyone. Sorry. Reverse out what you just received. Representative Evans has the proper copy. Thank you. Our apologies. This is all happening real time. Representative Evans, do you want to stay in your seat or do you want to go to the hot seat? No, that's fine.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
If you could, for the purposes of the committee, Representative Evans, if you could just explain, since I believe you're on rules, why it got sent back and what it is that we're trying to accomplish, and then the amendment, is that okay?
Yes,
Okay,
absolutely.
thank you.
So House Bill 949 is a bill that this committee passed out either earlier this week or last week. It was Representative Beth Camp's bill about drones, trying to keep drones away from agricultural land, interfering with agricultural land. And after we adjourned, I heard from some constituents who had some concern that one of the prohibited activities that we had added was taking videos or pictures of videos, because there are a lot of artists that make, flyover pictures and footage. We also, Representative Camp also heard from some film industry folks that were concerned about this. And that was, since it was not her intent, she said she did not mind if I attempted a rule sub that made that change. And then there was no objection to it from anyone in rules, but they are trying, at least at this point, not to do rule subs. And so they sent the bill back here so that we could add this language if we wanted to. And so the proposed substitute is working from LC 560593S. And the relevant change is if you look at the bottom of page 3, starting at line 65, the subsection E, you'll see it has 3 sections, 1, 2, 3 instead of 4, and the video photography is out. But you still cannot harass livestock. So if you are using a drone with a camera on it to harass, you can't, that you're still going to be caught up in this, but it has to be a knowing violation starting on line 71. So Representative Camp had another committee she had to present in, and so she shares that she is fine with this, and I would just ask that this committee pass out this substitute.
Thank you, Representative Evans, and I appreciate you working with Chairwoman Camp to get this perfected and get this across the line. What Park, you have a question of Representative Evans?
No, Mr. Chairman, at the appropriate time, want to make a motion to pass.
I believe you
At the
are at the
appropriate
appropriate time.
At this time, I'd like to make a motion to pass substitute, for HB 949.
I have a motion. I have a second. Do I have any discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Congratulations, Chairwoman Camp. You weren't here and you're moving back to rules. All right. Okay. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Representative Evans. Sure do appreciate you working with the Chairwoman to get this done. And Representative Kendrick, would you like to sit there or go to the hot seat? It's completely up to you. And then I'm going to go ahead and open it up for you. And if you can, just go through the LC. I believe we have the right one, but if you can, just confirm it.
Okay.
And please go right ahead. Thank you.
Okay, we have a substitute to HB 478, and it is LC 640063F. So that is the latest substitute.
Hold on. We don't. This is why it's important to name out the LC. Hold on just one second. We don't have the substitute. We have the bill, not the substitute.
Yep.
My apologies. You sent it to our, okay. All right. Can I just see? Give us just 1 second here, everybody. My apologies. Yeah, exactly. I don't mean to hold you off, but what I'd like to do is this. We're going to definitely have a meeting either tomorrow or Tuesday. Would you be okay if we get this straight, do it tomorrow or Tuesday and you're first to go? Okay, and I'll come behind you with what I think is 12:30, or it could be two separate bills. Is that okay with you, Representative Kendrick? Okay, all right. Hey, everyone. My apologies. We definitely, the admin mistake is on us. We didn't have the sub in your packet. We need the sub to be in your packet. Here's the two things I'm going to ask Stacy to do. I'm going to ask her to email you the sub so you have it in your hands today so you can be taking a look at it. We're going to see if we can get a room tomorrow. If we can, we'll convene tomorrow. Worst case scenario, we'll convene Monday or Tuesday. Monday's a committee day. Tuesday is a full session day, but I'm not going to wait until Wednesday to hear Representative Kendrick's bill. Is that fair? Okay. Is there any other business that the committee needs to hit? We're adjourned. Thank you.